What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 232 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I want to talk to you about another book by Brian Talbot, who was the creator of Alice in Sunderland that I talked about a few days ago. This book is a very different kind of book. This is The Adventures of Luther Arkwright. This is about this spy who has these crazy adventures trying to save the multiverse, and he's going to all these different realities. Looking at this book and finding out that it was about this spy having adventures across the multiverse, I thought this is going to be one of the most exciting graphic novels that I'm ever going to read in my entire life, and it is not. This book bored me to tears. Now, one problem that I had with this, and usually I don't care about this, this book is in black and white. Most of the time I don't care. The last several books that I've talked about in the last week or so have been in black and white. Black Hole, Safe Area Garagda, Persepolis, Moss, Fun Home, Epileptic, all of those were in black and white. And I don't even mind reading black and white adaptations of something that was originally in color. You look at my bookshelf up there, I've got several essential books from Marvel Comics, like Killraven or Doctor Strange, or most of my X-Men collection for the first 30 years of X-Men comics is black and white. It doesn't bother me in that case, but for some reason with this book, I ordered it and I was thinking this is going to be a really wild and crazy psychedelic James Bond across the multiverse kind of story, and then I open it up and it's in black and white, and I was deflated, and I tried so hard to get into this and it was just so very difficult. This book just absolutely took me forever to read. I had to force myself to sit down and read it. I was actually counting down the number of pages till I got finished with this book. It is not exactly what I feel like it was sold as. Now, if you went into this knowing what it was, you might enjoy it a lot more than I did. If you tried to ignore the James Bond going across the multiverse, gallivanting, having sex with lots of women, and it's really colorful and lots of explosions, if you ignore that idea that I feel like this book is kind of advertising itself as, then you might enjoy this quite a bit more. Looking on the back, there's a lot of praise for this book from a lot of different comic creators, and looking at that praise, I'm thinking, okay, that makes a lot more sense, because that reflects a lot more what's inside than what I feel like this cover does and the brief plot description of the book. You got people like Alan Moore saying, a work ambitious in both scope and complexity that still stands unique upon the comics landscape. Stunning. Maybe I should do that in my Alan Moore voice. Let me try it again. A work ambitious in both scope and complexity. I'm not going to do that. Sorry, that was probably really offensive. So anyway, that sounds like something that isn't what I would be interested in. I don't think that it's a stretch to say that my interests do not in any way overlap with Alan Moore's, other than crossover fiction, which even his obsession with crossover fiction comes from a very, very different place than my obsession with crossover fiction. So I don't think if I had known that Alan Moore was talking about this like it was the second coming of Christ, I probably would have hesitated on buying this. Then you have Garth Ennis here. I'm not going to read his thing because he has this huge paragraph here, and then Alan Moore has like a little sentence right here. Ironic, considering Garth Ennis one time talked about how wordy Alan Moore was in his scripts. But anyway, Garth Ennis is over here talking about how this is an epic that is one of the best of the medium and stuff like that. You got Michael Moorcock, who is an author that I like quite a bit, and he even did some of that kind of psychedelic James Bond across the multiverse kind of stories back in the 1960s with his character Jerry Cornelius. So he did a foreword in this book, and he's talking about it like it's this really interesting, complex thing full of ethical dilemmas, and it's just not really what I thought that it was going to be. And this is a really long way of me saying that if you go into this knowing that it is not that, you might enjoy this. This is a book about a guy who is exploring the cosmos. There is a very surreal aspect to this, which is different than the surreal aspect that I was expecting. But at one point, times it almost feels like 2001 A Space Odyssey. Like you've got this guy who feels like he is part of something larger, and he is. I mean, he's a guy who's traveling the multiverse, but it's not the exciting spy action adventure story that I wanted when I went into this book. So that is something that it's probably one of the most meh reviews that I've given, but I think when it comes down to it, I'm not saying that this is a bad book. I'm saying that I had a bad experience with it. It's possible that lots of people that are subscribed to me would enjoy this book quite a bit. I don't know. Maybe if I tried reading it again in a year or so, I might have an entirely different opinion of this book. I'm not sure. But all I know is reading it the first time, I really did not enjoy this book. So those are my thoughts on The Adventures of Luther Arkwright. There was a sequel or a prequel to this. I obviously did not buy it or read it, or do I know anything about it at all, but I thought I would throw that out there. There is a sequel slash prequel. It's another book featuring Luther Arkwright. So that's something you should keep in mind if you do read this book and you really like it. But anyway, those are my thoughts on this book. I hope that you guys liked this video, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with a different video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.